we're live, Ishan Prabhu. We can start.
Okay. Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravane Charine Nirvishesha Shrunyavanti Paschat Yade Shatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nitya Nanda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nitya Nanda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. So, we have Lord Chaitanya's appearance day, I believe is on Tuesday. And so we think a little. We think about this. We have so many holidays. So I want to talk about, we've already talked about this on the Hare Krishna Society site this morning, but we're going to use the same script, more or less, same notes. How do we receive Lord Chaitanya's mercy? Lord Chaitanya's mercy. So, who is Lord Chaitanya? That he's Krishna himself, but he's come in the form of Krishna's devotee, Lord Chaitanya. In the Adi Lila, we have this prayer by Srila Rupa Goswami. May that Lord, who is known as the son of Srimati Sachi Devi, be transcendently situated in the innermost core of your heart. This means that we can heart and mind in our Vaishnav, heart and mind are one. That we have Lord Chaitanya, we can see him dancing in our heart. He's chanting Hare Krishna in the mood of Srimati Radharani, feeling separation from Krishna. In our Vaishnav philosophy, this mood of separation from Krishna is, we're given to understand that this is the highest feeling of love for Krishna. That the 6 Goswamis, they were always feeling this separation from Krishna. It's described in the prayer of Srivas and the prayer of Srinivasacharya. Na Hey Radhe Brajadevi Kesha Lalite Hey Nanda Shunokuta. Where are you now? Where are you? So, and this was their mood in cultivating Krishna consciousness. Lord Chaitanya is dancing, and he's situated, he's descended in this age of Kali to bestow what no other incarnation has ever offered before. The most elevated mellow of devotional service, the mellow of conjugal love. There are different Vaishnav Sampradayas, but it is in the Brahma Gaudiya Sampradaya, coming from Madhavendra Puri, Ishwara Puri, Lord Chaitanya, like that. That we're worshipping Krishna, or we're learning to worship Krishna in the mood, this mood of separation from Krishna, in the mood of conjugal love. Oh my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love, flowing constantly while I chant your holy name? When will all the hairs on my body stand on end while I chant your holy name? These are the prayers of Lord Chaitanya. I do not know anyone except Krishna as my Lord. And he will always remain as such. Even if he may handle me roughly in his embrace. This is the mood of Srimati Radharani. Or he may make me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He's completely free to do anything and everything, but he's always my worshipable Lord, unconditionally. So this is the mood of Srimati Radharani. She has this love for Krishna, and Lord Chaitanya is feeling like that, and he's distributing. So may that Lord, and he's chanting Hare Krishna in this feeling of separation. Actually, he's in Jagannath Puri, the Rath Yatra festival, is the mood. They're taking Lord Chaitanya from Nilachala back to Vrindavan. This is the parade. Now I've regained the Lord of my life. And the Srimati Radharani is taking Krishna in the Rath Yatra car back to Vrindavan. So we're meditating like this. May that Lord, who is known as the son of Srimati Sachi Devi, be transcendently situated in the innermost chamber of our heart, resplendent with the radiance of molten gold. He has appeared in this age of Kali by his causeless mercy in order to bestow what no other incarnation has ever offered before. This most elevated mellow, this of devotional service, the mellow of conjugal love of Krishna. So, in other prayers we say that Lord Chaitanya is more magnanimous than any other avatar. That he's freely distributing this love of Krishna. So then we are trying to cultivate Krishna consciousness, following in the footsteps of Lord Chaitanya and his disciplic succession of Goswamis, the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan, and then coming down to Srila Prabhupada today. So then, how do we acquire this that is distributing so freely, but is my heart overflowing with this love that Lord Chaitanya is distributing freely? Why I'm not feeling like this? So there's a process by which we cultivate. So the answer is given that there's a method for receiving this love of Krishna, and that Lord Chaitanya is distributing freely, and there's a method by which we receive this. So this love of Krishna is coming down through disciplic succession. Lord Chaitanya's disciplic succession of self-realized spiritual masters. And so we're going to talk a little bit. I was reading in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishnadas Kaviraj, he's he's describing that Krishna, how Krishna appeared on this planet, which is very incredible, but that Krishna appears on this planet 5,000 years ago, and when he came, he brought his whole Vrindavan Dham with him. All of his associates, Nanda Maharaj, Mother Yashoda, and the cowherd boys, cowherd girls, gopis, Krishna's friends, all were here. And so Krishnadas Kaviraj writes, at the end of the Dwapara Yuga, of the 28th Divya Yuga, Lord Krishna appears on earth with the full paraphernalia of his eternal Vrajadam. This is incredible. This is Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Lila. We're reading from the 3rd chapter, Adi Lila, beginning on verse 10. And then Krishnadas, he continues, absorbed in this transcendental love, Lord Krishna enjoys in Braja with his devoted servants, his friends, his parents, and his conjugal lovers. Then Krishna explains that after Krishna left Vrindavan and returned to the spiritual world, actually Srila Prabhupada explains that Krishna's pastimes are eternal, and just like I have a friend, devotee, he's living in Mayapur now. So when I have my morning, it's already 12 and a half hours different. So when the sun is rising in one place, it's setting in another place, setting in another place, rising somewhere else. In the same way, Krishna's pastimes are going on in many universes simultaneously. Finishing in one place, it's beginning in another. So, Krishna is thinking, after he leaves our planet, he enjoys his transcendental pastimes as long as he wishes, and then he disappears. And after disappearing, he thinks thus. Adi Lila, chapter 3, verse 13. He says, for a long time, I haven't bestowed unalloyed loving service to me, to Krishna, upon the inhabitants of the world. And without this kind of loving attachment, the existence of the material world is useless. In other words, the material world is here only for our redemption. It's we're here, we're rebellious souls from the spiritual world, which is very amazing to understand. I was writing to one of my godbrothers who's more knowledgeable than myself, and he said that Srila Prabhupada explained that of the Tatashta Shakti, that we are all part of the marginal energy of Krishna. Shakti is energy. Tatashta, marginal, means that we can be either in material consciousness or spiritual consciousness, and we have this freedom of choice. So I was saying, well, where does this come from? He says this Tatashta Shakti is coming from Lord Balaram himself. And that I said, well, what percentage, we're here in the material world. He says that Srila Prabhupada says maybe 10%, maybe a little less. They make this choice that I would like to live in the material world and try to be a Lord as much as I can survey, as much as I can extend my sense of personal power. I'd like to try and be Krishna in that sense. Try to be the most important, most adorable, most lovable, most intelligent, most powerful, most wealthy, like that. It is a little less than 10% of the souls who are in this marginal energy. So that's us. It says, I had never understood why I'm not so much happy in the material world. But coming to Krishna consciousness, it's explained that Krishna, he didn't make the material world to be a nice place, actually. He made it to be difficult in order to, it's almost like that we're here. He's trying to change our mind gradually, that we want to come back home, that we've tried. Like I say sometimes when I used to work for Wells Fargo Bank, it was very busy. It was a big office building with more than 100 cubicles. And always lots efficiency experts trying to get more work out of less people, and lots of tension, and full-time therapists, psychologists also were hired because the employees, we were under stress. People were having nervous breakdown. So somebody put on the notice board a sign said, are we having fun? Are we having fun yet? We're trying so much to be happy in the material world. So someone's making joke that are we having fun? So Krishna is also, he's in our heart as the super soul. And he knows our thoughts, and he knows how the feelings of our heart. And he's waiting. He's saying, well, are you having fun? And and then, so when he sees that we're actually not enjoying and we're really beginning to look for answers, and that's when he puts us in touch with as a spiritual teacher, spiritual master. So Krishna is saying here that he's going to come back. That's why we're here. So Krishna is saying that he's saying that unless people are learning. Hey, Vaishal? Vaishal?
Yeah.
Can you turn that off?
Yeah.
Okay. Too many stations at one time. So when so Krishna is thinking, it's been a long time since I've bestowed this kind of loving service on the inhabitants of the world. But if they're not getting this again, if they're not learning how to become my devotees, the material world is useless, Krishna is thinking. And then Krishna is thinking more. Now, all these universes, conditioned souls like us, they have this conception, Krishna says. They're filled with the conception of my majesty. They're understanding God is great. He's the creator. He's in control of everything. And he's like a great king. And we recognize, we acknowledge his position, see ourselves as very small. So Krishna is saying that the whole universe, this is chapter 4, verse 17, Adi Lila, that the whole universe is filled with this, not just this planet, the whole universe is filled with this conception of my majesty. but love that is made weakened by that sense of majesty. It doesn't satisfy me. Krishna knows how great he is, or maybe he's greater than even he can imagine. It says sometimes in some places that his opulences are always expanding. And Krishna's saying he's not so much attracted by this when we recognize him as a king like that. He says everywhere in the world, Adi Lila 3:15, everywhere in the world, people worship me according to their following scriptural injunction. He says, simply by following these regulative principles, one cannot attain the loving sentiments of the devotees of Vrindavan. Krishna is saying that just by doing everything in the book according to regulations of the scripture, that one does not develop feelings of love for Krishna the way the residents of Krishna Loka, they have love for Krishna. They may develop feelings of awe and veneration, which qualifies us for entering the Vaikuntha planets, but not the Krishna Loka planet. He says, knowing 3:16, knowing my opulence, the whole world looks upon me with awe and veneration. But devotion that's made feeble by such reverence, it doesn't attract me. Krishna wants, who would prefer to be that he should be loved. He gets more pleasure to be loved like the residents of Vrindavan love him. He doesn't want so much, just like Srila Prabhupada says, if you take the president of the nation or the head of a large corporation, at work, people are saluting him, yes sir, no sir. People are being very respectful, bowing before him, and people are bringing him every facility that he might, and obeying his every order. But when he's finished his work and goes home, he's on the floor. This corporate executive or president of the country, he's on the floor on his hands and knees, walking on his back. His grandchild is riding him like he's a horse and saying, "Giddy up, come on horse, come on horsey, take me here, take me there." And he's enjoying that more than he's enjoying the people who are respecting him when he's at his office job, at his work. So Krishna's like that. Krishna's friends, they're challenging him. Sometimes they're having wrestling, who can wrestle who, and sometimes they're playing games, sometimes they're stealing each other's lunch bag, sometimes, when Mother Yashoda, when she chastises Krishna, Krishna enjoys, but they're all loving Krishna according to their individual relationship with him. That Krishna's my son, or Krishna's my friend, or Krishna is so beautiful and we want to go and dance with Krishna, like that. So, and also Krishna there are different servants in the house of Nanda Maharaj, and they're helping Krishna to get dressed like that. one time Krishna, when Mother Yashoda is dressing Krishna, and one of Krishna's friends is helping, and he's bending down to help Krishna put on, and Krishna is teasing him with his flute. And Mother Yashoda says, don't do that to your friend. So Krishna says that this very respectful recognition of his position is not so much fun. He likes rather to be loved in a personal way. Actually, that's understandable, that we, in the material world, we enjoy these relationships because actually they're a reflection of the relationships in the spiritual world. They come from the spiritual world. It's not that we think of God in terms of our relationship, but our relationships exist here because they exist first in the spiritual world. So Krishna says, 3:19, I shall personally inaugurate, means begin, the religion of this age. I'm going to start this Nama Sankirtan, and I'm going to the congregational chanting of the holy name, and I'm going to make the whole world dancing in ecstasy, but I'm going in a special way. They're going to be chanting in the moods of the different rasas, in the different mellows of love of God. Here it says, I shall make the world dance in ecstasy, realizing the four mellows of loving devotional service. So this is, he says, never mind this, they want to worship me like I'm a great king. He says, but I want them to dance and chant in kirtan, and feeling in their hearts these moods in the different mellows, the different rasas. I'm going to make this happen. I'm going to accept the role of a devotee. There, Krishna's thinking to himself like this. I shall accept the role of a devotee, and I'm going to teach devotional service by practicing it myself. By practicing it myself, I'm going to teach devotional service by practicing it myself. It's just like if you were, when you were a child, when I was a child, of course I'm still a child, but I'm trying to grow up a little bit. I had music lessons, piano, to play the piano. I was not very enthusiastic at that time. I didn't appreciate so much. So sometimes when a person begins music lessons at a very young age, and they grow up learning, then they enter the conservatory of music instead of the university. They enter and they learn all the classical exercises, can play them perfectly without even looking at music. They can do all that. And after they graduate, then that piano player is looking for a teacher. He already can do everything in the book, but now he's looking for a teacher. So why does he want to find a teacher? Say he's playing, the classical music of this Western world, Mozart or Bach or Beethoven. He's looking for a teacher who can give him what? Not the technical knowledge, how to use his hands, how to play. He's looking for a teacher that can give him the feeling of Mozart. How does his teacher get the feeling of Mozart? He had a teacher, and that teacher had a teacher, and that teacher had a teacher who, going back, who was in touch with Mozart, and he could feel what Mozart was feeling. And he had students, and he gave that feeling, the mood with which Mozart's music is played. He gave him the feeling, and he comes down. It's a kind of disciplic succession, but it's not the technical that is most important, although that has to be there. But what is really giving, he's looking for a teacher who can give him the feeling of Mozart. It's the feeling of the heart. And this is how we are looking for a teacher who can give us the feeling of Lord Chaitanya. This is how Lord Chaitanya is distributing love of Krishna. He distributes to the 6 Goswamis, and they're coming down, the disciplic succession. And I was reading this morning that Srila Prabhupada's explaining it's like a ladder going up to the top of a fruit tree, very high, and taking the most ripe fruit, mango, from the top of the tree. You're not just dropping it down to the bottom, because you want to keep the taste really nice. You don't want to damage the fruit. So he's carefully handing this very tasty fruit to the next person down on the ladder, to the next person down on the ladder, to the next person down, until we can receive that fruit, that taste. So this is how, Krishna, as he says, I'm going to take this role of a devotee, and I'm going to teach this feeling of devotion by practicing it myself. Lord Chaitanya. So this is how Lord Chaitanya is sharing this mood of love of God, this love of Krishna. Some bandha, some philosophy has to be there, but he's actually sharing the taste of devotional service. And Krishna says, he's thinking to himself that unless one practices this devotional service himself, he can't teach it to others. Because this is how Krishna consciousness comes to us. He says, chapter 3, verse 26, my plenary portions, Krishna has unlimited incarnations, avatars, expansions. My plenary portions, they can establish the principles of religion for every age, the different yugas. But no one but me, Krishna says, can bestow the kind of loving service that is performed by the residents of Braja. That nobody can share all the different avatars. They have something to teach us morality, like Lord Ram, how to do your duty by example, how to be a very good citizen, like that, whatever your position in the different varnas, Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Sudra. How to be a good citizen, that one. Another avatar is teaching how to do Hatha Yoga system and meditation. Another avatar is a great jnani. Different karma yoga. So Krishna says that none of them can actually give this taste of love of Krishna. that is existing in the Krishna Loka planet. Krishna says, no one but me. It's in there, in our Chaitanya. And so Krishnadas says in 327, there may be many all auspicious incarnations of the personality of Godhead, but who other than Lord Krishna can bestow love of God upon the surrendered souls? So this is a very, 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 very rare to have such an opportunity, such a teaching available to us. So he says, Krishna is still thinking to himself. He's saying, therefore, in the company of my devotees, meaning he's not going to come alone, he's going to come with all of his, his associates. He's going to bring the whole party down from the Krishna Loka planet. He says, in the company of my devotees, I'm going to appear on the earth. And I'm going to perform all these pastimes, Krishna's thing. And thinking in this way, Krishna, he appeared in Nadia at very early in the age of Kali. It's described. Lord Chaitanya is coming. And so in Adi Lila, in the 4th chapter, Krishnadas Kaviraj explains that, yes, Lord Chaitanya had different reasons for coming, and he wanted to experience that Srimati Radharani, her devotional, her spiritual ecstasy is greater than Krishna himself, and he wants to taste that. So that's one reason that for Lord Chaitanya's appearance, but another reason that is he wanted to propagate, to spread devotional service in the world on this platform of what is called spontaneous attraction. Not just reverence and respect, but he wanted to spread this mood, this feeling, how we can love Krishna, just like the residents of Vrindavan. So then Krishna says, but unless one practices devotional service himself, he can't teach it to others. So I'm going to, Krishna's thinking, I'm going to accept this role of a devotee, and I'll teach others. I'll teach devotional service by practicing it myself. I'll share this feeling, this mood. And then, Krishna, in the first chapter of the Adi Lila, Srila Prabhupada explains how Lord Chaitanya's feelings of spontaneous love of Krishna is shared with us through his disciplic succession. Srila Prabhupada explains how Lord Chaitanya's feelings of spontaneous love of Krishna is shared with us through his disciplic successions. And this is a heavy purport. Chapter 1, Adi Lila, text 47. In this purport, we'll try to discuss this purport a little bit. Srila Prabhupada writes that you're not just one kind of spiritual master. There's two kinds of spiritual masters. They're both giving instruction. And one of them is giving instruction like philosophy, or do this and don't do that. Here's the program, our daily sadhana, do this, do this, do this. But there's another kind of spiritual master. Two kinds of instructing spiritual masters. One is the liberated person, fully absorbed in meditation, in devotional service. He's a liberated person, and he's fully absorbed in meditation, in a mood of devotion. And the other one, he invokes our spiritual consciousness by giving us relevant instructions. Srila Prabhupada continues. So he's saying there's two kinds. One is telling us do this, do that, and what is our philosophy. And the other one, he's in a mood of devotion. So he says, so the instructions by which we receive the science of devotion, they're differentiated in two ways, in terms of objective understanding and subjective understanding. Subjective means how we feel. He's teaching us how to feel by feeling himself and sharing his feelings with us. That's how we learn to, this is the process, the science. So, Srila Prabhupada writes, the real Acharya, the Acharya in the true sense of the term, a real Acharya who is authorized to deliver Krishna, he enriches the disciple with full spiritual knowledge, and in this way he awakens the disciple to the activities of devotional service. So let's try and put that in our own words a little bit. Srila Prabhupada is saying that the Acharya in the true sense of the term, the real meaning of the word Acharya, he's a liberated person, and he's fully absorbed in meditation, in devotion in his heart. He can share his heartfelt experience of Krishna consciousness with us. And this is called, he's sharing, giving a subjective way of understanding. If we can feel what Srila Prabhupada is feeling, that's how we learn to feel what Krishna consciousness is in the spiritual world, because he has this feeling for Krishna. That is the way the residents of Vrindavan are feeling like that in the spiritual world. And so a real Acharya is someone who has those feelings in his heart. And if we can make an intimate relationship with him, we can learn from him, get this seed of devotion, and cultivate it, those feelings, through our own sadhana, through our own service. So, yeah. Now, so then, Srila Prabhupada explains this in different places. And we know, we sing every day, Prema Bhakti Aha Hoite, Avidya Vinashayate, Prema Bhakti Aha Hoite, Avidya Vinashayate. They said, from him, these feelings of love of Krishna, Prema Bhakti, they emanate from him, just like the sunshine emanates from the sun planet. Feelings of love of Krishna emanate from Srila Prabhupada. Prema Bhakti. And if we can catch it, that mood in our own heart, our heart becomes filled with love of Krishna. There's no more room for Maya. They say, avidya vinasha, by him our ignorance is destroyed. From him this love of Krishna emanates. If we can catch that mood that he's willing to share with us, It's just like when you turn on the light in a room, there's no more darkness. When we turn on the light of Krishna consciousness, love of Krishna in our heart, in that way, then avidya, our ignorance is destroyed. Simply by having Krishna consciousness, we don't have to struggle to keep rules and regulations. We don't have to struggle to give up unwanted habits when we have a little bit of this love. In other words, that jnana and vairagya, or knowledge and detachment, are byproducts of this love of Krishna. All we have to do is catch it from somebody who has it. So Srila Prabhupada talks about this process in his Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, chapter 5, verse 25. First canto, chapter 5, verse 25. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada's first sentence is that this pure devotion is as much infectious, in a good sense, like as an infectious disease. How do we catch an infectious disease? We associate with somebody who has it, and we catch it too. So he says, this is how you catch devotion. Pure devotion is as much infectious in a good sense as infectious diseases. In that purport, Srila Prabhupada says that the neophyte devotee, he becomes infected with the transcendental qualities of the pure devotee. And then he says, what does it mean to become infected? He says, infection of the qualities of the pure devotee means to imbibe the taste of pure devotion. It's like we imbibe your drink that has a taste. It's a metaphor, of course. But he says, to become infected with Srila Prabhupada's love for Krishna, we to become infected means that we drink the same the taste that he's come to share. That's the science or the process of Krishna consciousness. And that's why there's no way to get this except the lotus feet of our spiritual master is the only way by which we can get this kind of pure devotional service. It is by his grace that I can cross over the ocean of material suffering. That avidya vinash, by his grace, I can get this taste of devotion, and my ignorance will be destroyed. So we're singing like this every day in the temple. So Srila Prabhupada says, what's the result of getting this taste? He says, this taste at once, what happens when we get this taste in his association? At once makes all material things distasteful. Our taste for things that are not Krishna conscious, it evaporates like that. So he says, and in this way, our unwanted, our anarthas, our unwanted desires in our heart, unwanted activities, they're eliminated. So he says, first you get the taste, then there's an elimination. He says, after the elimination of the obstacles on the path of devotional service, then a very wonderful thing happens. One can be attracted. We can't be attracted as long as we're attracted to material satisfaction, which is unwanted. That's just our disease, so to speak. But when we get a little taste, he says, when we get the taste, our material desires are eliminated. And then he says, as soon as our material desires are eliminated, then we become attracted, and then we have next stage. It grows inside as we cultivate this connection with Srila Prabhupada, Krishna's pure devotee. It's not like an on or off switch. It's gradually expanding and expanding, taking us from one stage to the next. So he's saying, first we become attracted, first eliminate the material desire by getting a taste of devotion in his association, then we become attracted, then we become steady, more fixed up, Srila Prabhupada said. Fixed up, like if you have some strong glue, epoxy resin, you connect two things together, it becomes fixed. We become fixed in devotion, and then we become steady. Nishta, fixed. Kanishta means not steady, not fixed. So I'm a kanishta adhikari, kanishta devotee, but we become, if I can cultivate a good living relationship with Srila Prabhupada, Krishna's pure devotee, I can become nishta, become fixed, steady, and then one can start to have good, perfect taste, means we then become attracted to things that help us to grow in Krishna consciousness, as opposed to things that will hinder our Krishna consciousness. He says, so after becoming steady, one develops perfect taste, start to actually desire the right things instead of desiring the wrong things. And then he says, and when after the next stage, one will actually begin to have transcendental emotions, Srila Prabhupada said. Yeah, one can read this in 1.5.25. And at last, Srila Prabhupada says, one can be situated on the plane of loving service to Krishna, loving service of the Lord. And so it's a step. So Krishna, Srila Prabhupada says, all of these stages develop by being in association with a pure devotee. That we become infected, and then that infection, just like sometimes you get an infection, maybe you can cut your finger or get a little splinter, and it's only localized. In one place it starts to fester a little bit, you get a little pus, something like that. But if that also, that sometimes that infection can go inside the body, into the bloodstream, and what they describe, the infection is now systemic. The whole body has now become infected. So Srila Prabhupada says that at last one will be situated on the plane of loving service of the Lord, that that infection of Krishna consciousness, it spreads and it will expand within us and become systemic. It'll take over our whole being, heart and soul. So he says, then Srila Prabhupada says, all of these stages develop by the association of pure devotees. Srila Prabhupada says, so if by cultivating the ability to live with a sense of association with Srila Prabhupada, always feeling his presence within our heart, where we have all our other emotional feelings, but now we're cultivating the ability to feel Srila Prabhupada's presence within our heart, that we get more and more infected with his feeling of devotion. And it takes us from the lowest stage of, as Srila Prabhupada writes, the neophyte, So this process begins from our neophyte position, cultivating a relation. So that means living. He lives forever by his instructions, divine, and the follower lives with him. These are the instructions. How to, the follower is the one who takes up these instructions, how to cultivate Krishna consciousness by being in the association of someone who has this consciousness and catching it, just like you catch COVID from someone who has COVID. You catch this mood by being intimately in touch with Krishna's pure devotee. This is the science of Krishna consciousness. All these stages are described by the great acharyas, like Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, this stage, on and on, with very scientifically described. Srila Prabhupada says all these stages develop how? By being in association with someone who has this love of Krishna. And this is the science of Krishna consciousness. And I can only speak from my own position. I'm a neophyte devotee. But Srila Prabhupada says, the neophyte who does this, the first sign will be that he'll begin to have a taste of what Srila Prabhupada's tasting. We can feel his mood, we can feel his energy, and can become enthusiastic, feel his enthusiasm, his eagerness, his joyfulness in our heart. And learn to live this way. He becomes our constant companion, and this is called practicing Krishna consciousness in the association of a pure devotee. Or it's called cultivating Krishna consciousness under the guidance of a pure devotee. So we've all heard these things again and again. And this is what it means, that by being in touch with someone who has this feeling of love for Krishna, he's brought it where? From the spiritual world. He's come with that. To share that. That's why he's here. That's why Lord Chaitanya came. But he's not giving us to us personally. He's coming through his disciplic succession. They're handing this down, the same feeling, and then to us, here, take this. Please accept my blessings. Like that. So, this is Srila Prabhupada's description of what he's calling subjective instruction, or the way in which it's a form of instruction, but it's not like do this, do that. It's instruction of sharing his feeling of Krishna consciousness. He's instructing us in that way, very subtle way, how to, just like the piano player who knows all the books of the conservatory, he's looking for a teacher who will play the music with the feeling, and that is the instruction. He's paying for that instruction, just to be near the man who can play with that feeling, so he can get the feeling. So we want to be near the Krishna's pure devotee who can share that feeling with us. Yeah, so that. So, now, here. So how do we get close? How do we get close enough? How do we get close enough to get that feeling from Srila Prabhupada? What will open the door so that in the Bible, Jesus says, knock, and the door is going to be open for you. How how do we open this door? What makes this door come open? Because people are saying, well, Srila Prabhupada has said, do this, do this, do this. I have a clipboard, and it's a checklist, and every day I do this, 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 and we're following it. But the follower lives with him. So here's a purport, and there's so many like that, but it's already almost 10 after 2 o'clock in this here, so we can't talk too long, but we're trying to give some little understanding of the science, and here we have 10th canto, chapter 2, 10th canto, verse number 18. Srila Prabhupada describes this process, how when Krishna came to the planet, first he was in the heart of Vasudeva. Yeah, Vasudeva and Devaki, they're in the prison of King Kamsa. King Kamsa has them in prison because the 8th child of Devaki is going to cause Kamsa's death, kill him. So he has them in prison. He wants to get those children and try to end their life. So Srila Prabhupada said, he's giving a purport. The Supreme Personality of Godhead was transferred from the core of Vasudeva's heart to the heart of Devaki. Krishna is in Vasudeva's heart, and he's in intimate connection with Devaki, and from his heart, Krishna is transferred to Devaki's heart. So, Srila Prabhupada said here that the Lord was transferred to Devaki by Diksha, initiation. That this he's describing, he's taking this analogy or this metaphor of how Krishna appeared in this world, in the material world. He's using that as a metaphor for how we receive Krishna consciousness from Krishna's pure devotee. It says, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he was transferred from the core of Vasudeva's heart to the core of the heart of Devaki. And and he says, so Lord Krishna was transferred to Devaki, not in the ordinary way that husband and wife are making a child, not in the, he says, not by the ordinary way for a human being, but by Diksha, initiation. He says, thus, meaning, this, he says, this is the importance of initiation. He says, that's the importance of initiation. Unless one is initiated by the right person, who always has within his heart the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one cannot acquire the power to carry the Supreme Godhead within the core of one's own heart. Srila Prabhupada is saying, unless we have a teacher who always has Krishna in his heart, we will not be able to carry Krishna in our own heart. Because how does he carry Krishna in his heart? What gives Srila Prabhupada the power to carry Krishna in his heart, to capture Krishna? So there's one verse in the Brahma Samhita. Premanjana charita bhakti valochanena santa sadaiva hridayeshu vilokiyanti yam shama sundaram achintya guna swarupam govindam adi parusham tamaham bhajami. He says that because his eyes are tinged with the salve of love. All of this is poetry. Because we're getting so many metaphors, how to understand the science of Krishna consciousness. He says, because Srila Prabhupada's eyes have a certain ointment that is called a loving ointment of love. And he can see Krishna with this love, therefore Krishna lives in his heart. So that when Srila Prabhupada is saying that unless we are initiated by a person who always has Krishna in his heart, we can't carry Krishna in our heart. But what does he give us? The same power that the pure devotee has to capture Krishna, which is the love in his heart, he can share that with us. And that power, that love, we can attract Krishna to live in our heart. So, so the Supreme Lord's entrance into the womb of Devaki from the heart of Vasudeva, Srila Prabhupada saying, he says his last line in the purport, it was based on a heart-to-heart relationship. That because Devaki's heart was 100% open to the feelings, to the heartfelt love for Krishna that Vasudeva had in his heart for Krishna, because she could feel his heart and get that same feeling in her heart, therefore Krishna, in that way, Krishna is transferred into her heart also. Of course, Krishna stays at the same time in Vasudeva's heart, but the idea is that if we have a spiritual master who can share his heartfelt feelings with us, in that way we can capture Krishna. So this is the process by which we receive Lord Chaitanya's mercy. Through the disciplic succession is coming down from one spiritual master to another, this sharing Lord Chaitanya's love for Krishna. The disciplic succession is carrying Lord Chaitanya's love for Krishna in their heart. As Srila Prabhupada explained, my mind goes in different verses and all over the books, but this is how we can. So we have to learn. We're beginners. I'm a beginner, very much beginner. But why am I talking about this subject matter? And this is for the neophyte, this process, Srila Prabhupada says, that this is for us to cultivate a living relationship with Srila Prabhupada. And he says that how do we begin to understand his feelings when our heart is open to his heart? When we have an open heart to Srila Prabhupada, when we cultivate the ability. There's one quote, I don't have it in front of me, but I have it on my computer, that when a disciple or a student has actual love, feelings of love for the spiritual master, the bona fide spiritual master, says Srila Prabhupada says, everything is revealed. When we have love for Srila Prabhupada, then he begins to share his love for Krishna with us. We begin to feel. Krishna arranges everything. We feel Srila Prabhupada. We begin to sense his joyful mood in Krishna consciousness. We feel it in our own heart. It's our meditation. The third line of Gayatri says, Enguru Devaya Vidmahi Krishnantaya Dhimahi. Dhimahi means meditate. We're meditating on the enthusiasm of the pure devotee, spiritual master, and we meditate on his enthusiastic feeling, his mood of Krishna consciousness, and so that we become enthused. We get that mood from him. He says the price is eagerness. He says, where will you get that eagerness? You associate with someone who has that eagerness and you become eager too. So this is something where we all have to go. And it's not a difficult thing. We don't have to have memorized a whole lot of verses or anything in particular. We just have to understand that we need to have a personal relationship with our spiritual master, who's Krishna's pure devotee. And in this way, this grows. Nishta means steady. We won't be steady right away because we're not used to being always walking in that company, in that association. But as we get a taste, and it automatically uplifts us, and automatically we taste the sweetness of his association, and we begin to desire more. Oh, you who's always tasting the nectar of the name, when will I hold your feet until the end of time? When, oh when, will that day be mine? This desire will begin to grow in us. I must have his association, even though I'm so much distracted to this, to the other thing. So we're talking about this not because we have done it, not because we're very good at this. We're talking about this because we want it. This is true. I'm talking about the aspect of Krishna consciousness that I desire very much to come to this platform. So I'm always talking about. So, and I'm hoping to talk with other devotees who also they have interest and desire to understand, and they say, "Oh, this is very nice." Therefore I want to have your association, so together we can talk about things like this. It's like when you get a new job, sometimes they have an orientation program, giving you a sense of direction, what this job is all about and how you do it, and like this. So that's what we're together. This is a class in Krishna consciousness. It's an orientation, part of an orientation program. And by discussing our orientation, we become, Srila Prabhupada says, thinking, feeling, and willing. First we get the concept, then we start, maybe, oh, I would like some of that. Now I want it. So so that's what this is all about. I come in with you, before you like this, not because I'm highly cultivated in this way, but by having your association and your willingness to discuss with me like this, both of us perhaps, hopefully, that we become to have a stronger sense of direction, how to go forward in the cultivation of this Krishna consciousness. Thank you so much for letting me talk to you in this way. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Joy. So thank you, Ishan Prabhu. for this wonderful dialogue of Krishna consciousness. We have Mother Ruchisa, if she has any comments or questions, realizations, if you'd like to share, you're welcome.
Please accept my obeisances.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Prabhu.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Please
You
accept
talk a
my-
lot about associating with the spiritual master, the pure devotee,
Yeah.
who had a strong relationship with Krishna, so it can help us taste it. And I was thinking about association with other devotees, even if they are not Kanishta, Dikari, or they are not so elevated, or association with devotees, whatever the degree they are, if they are sincere devotees of Srila Prabhupada, they can give us that too.
I'm listening and I'm hearing you. The screen is doing something strange on my computer, and you have disappeared from the
I disappear.
but I am hearing you. Yes, well, together we practice Krishna consciousness together, and we encourage each other. Srila Prabhupada says 2 or 200. He also says not with everybody who's a devotee will feel a sense of resonance, but if there's somebody in Krishna consciousness that you have a similar feeling, a similar desire to cultivate Krishna consciousness in a certain way, you associate with them, and in other words, not with everybody. Even amongst the great acharyas, there's someone said, "Oh, I always want to." I'm not sure who was it. Was it Narottam? He was saying, "Oh, I want the association of Ramchandra."
Yeah.
So, by cultivating, at least if we're in a kirtan, if we're in a class, if we're doing Harinam on the street, whatever, it keeps us in touch with the whole context of Krishna consciousness, yes.
Yes.
But not from everybody you'll get the same thing. Someone might be much more elevated than myself, and I don't understand his feelings of Krishna, and someone else is maybe just beginning to read Bhagavad Gita, and he may not understand even what we've been discussing today. But just by doing the process, by being with each other in large groups and small groups, it keeps us close to the fire, so the fire doesn't die. It keeps it alive, and we stay in the process. And then we try to associate more closely with the devotees who are aspiring to develop similar, cultivate in a similar way that we aspire to cultivate. That's natural. In the material world, it's the same way. A person who wants to engage in investing in the stock market, he has friends who have the same interest. Person who wants to be an athlete, he's going to go to the gym and be exercising and to make strong muscles with other people. So you find people of similar interests. But in general, just to be with the devotees. Of course, it's different today. I don't live near a temple, but just being with the devotees in the kirtan, but everybody in that kirtan has a different mood in their own heart. And so we do both. We try to associate with the association of devotees, and we are automatically attracted to devotees who have similar inclination, cultivation as ourselves. Is that at all helpful? Does that make sense?
It really makes sense. Thank you very much for the answer.
I'd like to make a comment on that that Rotisha Mataji asked. There's a book that I've been reading, Vrindavan Days by Hayagriva Prabhu. Vrindavan Days,
Yeah.
and there's one part where Hayagriva is discussing about the external, so-called, dirtiness of Vrindavan, and Prabhupada is going directly into detail about, because you're not qualified to see this, it's very wonderful how Srila Prabhupada is seeing that vision of Vrindavan, the transcendental, and where Hayagriva is coming in 1976 and seeing all this, and he's expressing all his doubts.
It was in 1976 Hayagriva was feeling like that.
Yeah, that's there in that book, Vrindavan Days. So, anyways, Mother Chisa, if you take a look in that book or you read that chapter, I can send it to you, and you'll be like blown away by Srila Prabhupada's insight of how he's explaining all this.
What was he saying, Srila Prabhupada, in your own words?
Well, Prabhupada was saying that you must go to a person who has seen, so he can describe it to you. You're not that person. Basically, he was giving that. Vrindavan is covered up, by all these external things which you're seeing.
Our vision is covered.
Yeah. So yes.
Yeah, Srila Prabhupada's words. There's one verse in our Bhagavatam that says that the sound vibration of the words of the pure devotee has the saffron dust particles that are sprinkled on Krishna's lotus feet. So Srila Prabhupada's words have a spiritual potency that brings us in touch. Actually, it's not just describing Krishna, but Krishna is right there in that sound vibration. There's no difference between Srila Prabhupada's words and Krishna, just like there's no difference between the name Krishna and Krishna himself, because it's all absolute, the spiritual dimension. So if we hear from someone like Srila Prabhupada, he's a good devotee to associate with. So, and we can read his books every day. Gradually, I find in my own life, I'm reading books that I've read several years ago because it takes me a long time to go through them. But now I'm reading First Canto, Volume 2, and I'm thinking, whoa, it's so wonderful, it's so beautiful. But I didn't have those same feelings when I was first reading like that. So it's very purifying to hear from Srila Prabhupada is to be in touch with Krishna directly. Yeah. Hare Krishna.
Right. Anything else? Yeah, Mother Chisa.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Right. Okay. So yes, go ahead.
Excuse me. I had a link last year in February. It was Nityananda's birthday, and Yasodanandana Das sent me a link. And in that link, Prabhupada says we should pray to Lord Nityananda, because I'm very neophyte devotee. So he says that we should chant Nityananda's day every day, 1,000 times, and read a chapter every day of Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chaitanya Bhagavata. So I start that, and I can tell you that the first time I didn't understand nothing at all, and I listen to it and I read to it over and over and over, and every time I'm understanding a little bit more. So
yes.
I think that keeping doing it and continue to chant it every day, it would make the difference.
Yes.
and it changed my mood. It
Yes.
changed my mood because I was very young when I was at the temple and so busy at doing devotional service all the time. I didn't understand who was Chaitanya, who was Nityananda, who was Srila Prabhupada. So doing those things it really helps me so much. Makes a difference.
Yeah, I feel the same way, what you're describing. That we didn't grow up as children. Can you imagine what it's like to grow up as a child, as a baby, in the house of devotees? And there's an altar, and there's chanting and telling stories about Krishna, and it all becomes so real. So I'm looking forward to my next birth, hoping that I'll be born in the house of devotees like that. I think there's one song by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He's praying that even if he has to be born as an insect, let him be born in the house of a devotee. Maybe that's my next life.
We'll
Right.
see.
Okay, Ishan Prabhu, thank you very much, Mother Teresa, for joining. If anyone has any questions or comments, feel free to contact Ishan Prabhu. His email address is in the title and in the description of all the videos. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
All
Everyone
glories
have
to
a happy Gaur Purnima coming up on Tuesday.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Thank
Jai.
you. Hare Krishna.